This video was produced by The Top Cut. Be sure to check out thetopcut.net, your home for Pokemon TCG, tournament coverage, professional game analysis, and interviews with the best players in the world. Thanks for watching. Hey everybody, this is Pooka bringing you the top 16 from Wisconsin Regionals between Tyson Stephan on the left and Vince Blasko on the right. Now this matchup will be a Zekrom Eelektrik versus Celebi Mewtwo Tornadus deck, and it looks like Tyson's going to go first. But before we get into all the good stuff that's going to happen, I just want to give a little background of these two players. Now, they may not be household names, you might not have heard of them before, but they are both veteran players who've been around the competitive scene for quite a long time. Tyson has actually competed in the World Championships before, back in 2008, so he's no stranger to success. And Vince is actually an old school player all the way back from the Wizards of the Coast era, who is a very consistent and very skilled player, always somebody to look out for. And he actually went undefeated in the Swiss rounds. He went 8-0, and here he is now, still in the tournament in the top 16 after winning his top 32 match. And Vince has been a very consistent performer at regionals. I believe he's made top 4 a couple times and top 8 a couple times as well. So he's always a threat at any tournament. Neither of these players have had a big breakout performance to put them on the map, but maybe this is their big opportunity, and this should showcase a pretty good matchup. So just to catch up, looks like Tyson's got a couple Dynamos in play already. He's used Smeargle, and he saw that Vince had a terrible hand. So right now Vince has nothing really going for him. And Tyson's going to start off pretty strong with a couple Dynamos. He got a couple Zekroms down as well, and this is going to be big. And now Vince is going to go for Dual Ball, and he gets 2 Tails. So really his only hope was to Dual Ball and find a Smeargle. But now he doesn't even have that option. I don't know what he's going to do his pass. Now, this is going to get ugly pretty quickly. Tyson got an Eelektrik out. And it looks like, if all things go according to plan, he is going to take the first prize, which is really going to put Vince in a terrible position. As the CMT player, you always want to be the first one to take the first prize. And you want to target down your opponent's Eelektriks before they can come into play. Usually you go after Dynamos, and if you catch them enough, they just have no energy acceleration. And really, they can't do anything to keep up with your attackers. But if they get to a point like this, which Tyson will be approaching rapidly, where they get a bunch of big attackers in play, like we see there's a Zekrom there with an Eviolite already. There is going to be 3 energy on it by the end of this turn, I think. That is something that the CMT deck has a lot of trouble dealing with. A Zekrom with an Eviolite will knock out pretty much everything in the deck besides a Mewtwo or Regigigas if they play that, but I don't believe Vince does. So Zekrom with Eviolite is going to be a huge hurdle for Vince to get past, and already Tyson's going to have it powered up on the second turn. Doesn't look like he can switch and attack with it though, so Vince, not any danger. And oh, he top decks that Oak's New Theory, so maybe a little bit of life for Vince, but already you can see this is going to be kind of ugly. Tyson has an Eelektrik in play. He's got a couple. He's got a Juniper and a Sage in his hand, I believe, and Vince really can't deal with Zekrom very well. He's going to have to try to catch her around it, take out the Eelektriks, and then maybe try to go for Mewtwo. That's going to have to be his plan here. But if things stay the way they are now, Tyson might actually roll on to a pretty quick victory in this first game. So right now Vince doesn't look like he drew anything he wanted, really. You might have a supporter in there, but I don't believe I saw any energy, no catcher, anything like that. And yeah, he's just going to have to pass. So this is going to get ugly. If Tyson can manage to get his Zekrom out of the active spot and then Bolt Strike this turn, really, what can Vince do to respond to that? Not a whole lot, really. We do see another Sage here from Tyson. Sage's Training is a card that's very hit or miss. Sometimes you end up having to discard a lot of good cards, but so far Tyson's been pretty fortunate with it. He's gotten lightning energy in the discard pile, and he hasn't had to discard anything too important. And he has that double colorless, catches out Tornadus. He'll also get to use Dynamotor and power up another Zekrom, so this is where things get really out of control really quickly. As if one Zekrom weren't enough for Vince to deal with, and he doesn't really have any energy or attackers in play. 2 is going to be even worse, and Vince has fallen behind a prize. Tyson is completely set up. He's got 2 Zekroms ready to go, and the active Zekrom has an Eelektrik on it, so that'll reduce damage by 20. So all Vince can do, he's just putting down his Mewtwo and going for it. Puts a double colorless and an Eelektrik on his Mewtwo and then plays an N, and he realizes, okay, the only way I can really deal with Zekrom is Mewtwo, so I gotta go for it. It's very risky, but I have to do it. Now, if you take a look, an X-Ball with just that double colorless won't actually be enough. Tyson does have an Eelektrik, so that'll be 6 energy combined between Mewtwo and Celebi. So Vince will need an extra energy or a plus power in order to X-Ball that Mewtwo, or X-Ball that Zekrom for a knockout. So we'll see if he does manage to pull that off, and he does. Energy Retrieval and Forest Breath onto the Mewtwo. Does he have a switch? It looks like he might. So just going to do the math before he commits to it. Puts down a Virizion as well. He's playing out a lot of cards from his hand. And then he just switches to the Mewtwo, and he's going to X-Ball. And Tyson's just going to make sure that that math adds up, and it does. So this is really the only way Vince would have any hope in this game. And now it's going to be up to Tyson to respond. Now, does that N set him back at all? He gets 5 cards, so it's not the most disruptive thing in the world. So if he were to draw a Mewtwo of his own, he could simply Dynamotor twice and X-Ball for a knockout, and Vince would be on the bad end of a prize exchange there. And it looks like Tyson does have the Mewtwo, puts it down, and Vince, I mean, he has to kind of expect that this would happen, but he really had no other choice than to hope that Tyson didn't have this. You know, his attackers just do not stack well against Zekrom. We have seen some players decide to feature Regigigas EX and also Terrakion in their CMT decks, but Vince decided not to. He actually decided to play Virizion, and not even the Noble Victories one, the Emerging Powers Virizion with Sacred Sword. So he's taken a little bit of a more classic route with the deck, but he runs that Virizion as well, just to have an attacker to hit for 100 damage at some point. And this is going to be a very big turn for Vince. Here's a Dual Ball. Can he respond to Tyson's Mewtwo? And ooh, he rolls Snake Eyes. That is 2 tails. Vince has been 0 for 4 on Dual Ball this game. And now, really, what can he do from here besides pray? He doesn't have a Sky Arrow Bridge in play, so his Celebi has a retreat cost. He's already attached to Tornadus. And he's just going to be praying for something here. I don't know what. Perfect world would be Sky Arrow Bridge, Mewtwo, double colorless, plus power, and respond with an X-Ball, but I don't see that happening. So here's another Dual Ball. Maybe it could happen. But there's 2 more tails. And Vince is now 0 for 6 on Dual Ball. So Dual Ball is not Vince's friend. Things are getting worse and worse and worse. He did manage to knock out one of those Zekroms, but is going to get even uglier if he cannot stall Tyson, at least for a turn with a catcher. And he plays a switch. Send out Smeargle. He's going to take a look at Tyson's hand at the very least. And he'll be able to use another supporter, but he's going to have to draw pretty well if he manages to get a supporter. And there we go, we have N or Juniper. Now, if your Vince is actually a tough decision, I think you have to go for the N, though, just to disrupt Tyson, because you saw, okay, he did have a supporter, and now I can actually disrupt him and put him at 3 cards. Maybe I can get a little bit of a comeback here if Tyson doesn't draw a supporter from his new 3 cards, and I draw fairly well from my 5 cards. So Portrait, he's going to copy Tyson's N, and they'll both shuffle in. Tyson will draw 3, Vince will draw 5, 1 for each prize card. And if you're Vince, you just gotta be hoping for a perfect hand off of this. And still no Sky Arrow Bridge, which is really surprising. Usually most people run 2 or 3 in their deck, and you would hope to have drawn one by now, but Vince does not look like he has drawn one, which is really crucial to the deck's success. You know, giving free retreat to Pokemon like Smeargle and Celebi. That's the name of the game with the Celebi Mewtwo Tornadus deck. You get to use these powers that only activate when your Pokemon is active, and then you retreat it for free because of Sky Arrow Bridge. And when that's not in play, your whole deck gets a little clunkier, and nothing really flows well, and it's showing here. Now Tyson did have a pretty good start, and Vince had probably the worst start you can think of. So this is not really indicative of how the matchup usually goes, but this is what can happen when the CMT deck gets a slow start. It just kind of starts to spiral out of control. They really need to take advantage early on with their quickness, with early Mewtwo or Tornadus, even Virizion in Vince's case, and get some early knockouts on Dynamos and Eelektriks. Really cut off your opponent's energy acceleration, because their attackers are kind of just better than yours when everything gets set up. I don't know how else to put it. Zekrom is a better attacker than Tornadus. It knocks out Tornadus. Zekrom's actually the kind of card that defines this whole matchup. If the Zekrom Electric player can get enough Electrics into play to keep powering up Zekrom, there's no way the CMT player can deal with this 130 hit point Pokemon, dealing massive damage every turn, usually knocking out your active Pokemon. And it looks like Tyson drew a nearly perfect hand from his 3-card N, and he'll draw his Switch as well off of his Juniper for 7. Vince was hoping to disrupt Tyson with that N, but looks like Tyson just drew an even better hand, so no luck there for Vince. And Tyson's going to take a quick 3-prize lead here, and that is no good if you're Vince. The door is quickly closing on his chances of winning this game, and I wouldn't be surprised to see him just scoop up his cards here and move on to the next game in the next turn or so. So we do see an N out of Vince. Maybe this will open a door for him. I mean, just think about it. What really could he draw here? There's a fully powered Tornadus, there's a Mewtwo, and a Zekrom all waiting for him, and Vince has just one energy in play, and it's on a Tornadus, which will not really knock out anything on Tyson's field besides that Smeargle. And yeah, that's not going to get the job done, I don't think. So Vince looks at his 5 cards. Actually drew 6 on accident, I think. So he just kind of sneaks that one back there. And now there's probably going to be a little bit of a dispute here. A judge called over. Vince did draw a 6th card from the N on accident, so that will be some sort of penalty, I'm sure. And we will get this resolved soon, I hope. So he shows the card to Tyson, and he actually just passes. So I don't think that N mistake there will make any impact at all in this game. This one's pretty much over. Vince is just going to get knocked out here. And now it's probably going to be the last turn of the game. And yeah, Vince says, alright, I cannot stop you from winning the game, so I'm just going to concede, and we will move on to game 2. Hopefully get something a little better the next game. So Tyson will take the first game here. He is from Wisconsin. He's taking the first game here in this Wisconsin Regional Championship top 16 match. We'll see if Vince's undefeated run in this tournament can continue. Of course, he was 8-0 in the Swiss round. He won his top 32 match, and we'll see if he can come back here in the top 16 at the Wisconsin State Championship. Stay tuned for game 2. We'll be right back.